morning, everyone. This is Anthony, Wall Street Trader. It's 11:51 a.m. Eastern Standard Time on January 16th, 2023. This is not financial advice. This is educational. Click the subscribe and the bell. Share the video. Click the thumbs up. Intraday Updates on Twitter. The handle is Wall Street Tra 12. One word, Wall Street TRA 12. Now, if you have any other cryptos or stocks you want covered, please paste it below the video in the comments. You have to be on YouTube for that. Here to talk about Casper today. It's a somewhat of a newer type of crypto network out there, level one network. And we're not talking about this guy. He's Casper the Friendly Ghost for those who've been brought up in the 80s like I have. You probably remember this fun guy, but this is not what we're talking about today. We're going to talk about Casper, which is a network that does quite a bit. Before we get into Casper in terms of what it actually does, just note what I like about this particular crypto is we're pretty much fully diluted. Doesn't look like there's any more supply coming online. So that's one of the benefits, I think, of Casper. But however, it is a fairly new type of product out there. The traction has not been fantastic, only because of the fact that it's pretty new. It's fairly does all the things we'd expect out of any crypto we cover on this channel. I wouldn't be covering it if they weren't user friendly, flexible, scalable, speedy, and cheap. But they have something that kind of sets them a little bit more apart than other types of blockchains out there. One is the fact that they have fairly easily upgradable contracts. You can customize these things without having to reboot the system and make massive upgrades and migrations. So that's a pretty significant differentiator for this particular network. In addition to that, they do have WebAssembly to help move Web 2 types of ecosystems over to Web 3, another area where I feel that this particular blockchain differentiates from other ones. Now, this company, Casper, actually does professional services as well to help migrate that where particular companies are interested in it. So they do have this professional services angle as well, which they don't really state much here, but they have that. I think that's pretty significant. The other thing is in terms of partnerships, I didn't see a lot out there. However, I have seen that they've done some business with IPWE. It's a digital patent platform that is used to help protect the interests of patent owners and also to allow them to get royalties through the platform. So Casper's partnered with these guys to help build it on their platform on the Casper blockchain. So pretty significant. I think that's one step in the right direction. Also, Casper will be at the 2023 Davos, the crypto Davos that's coming up in the next few days. So another a big way in which they're trying to forge ahead and get more participants onto the platform. Now there's a whole website. They've got a bunch of names of different uh, partners and blockchains they're working with. They do have experience on the team around, prior major digital engagements at other big companies. So they have the experience, they have the enterprise experience, which is key. You want leaders like that who have been in big companies before, who have the know, who are in the know of other people that they can approach, try to advance it. Plus the fact that they have a professional services arm, also to help grease the wheels in terms of getting people to move forward on this Casper blockchain is also key. Now, we'll go take a look at a couple of things on Casper. Number one, they've had a nice boon up to like 35 cents. They pulled back about 10% overnight. Now, I think what's important here is we have there's not a whole lot of price activity on this thing. So it's hard to really say. It started really back here in 2021, maybe sooner than that, but all the different all the different US dollar versions of Casper are, they're just not available. But we do have a reasonable area of support down here that started back in June when all things hit the fan, and we've seen it touch it a couple of times or come close enough to it to make this a reasonable area of support. The support's in green right now. Now this is the Casper to US dollar pair. If we go over to here, we're going to kind of forget Casper the Friendly Ghost. we go over here, we look at Casper in a couple of different ways. We can look at it in the US dollar way, fair enough. But there's other areas that I can look at to see where I think it might be going based on the upper and lower limits of where each individual pairs go to give me some familiarity with maybe where Casper US dollar might trek to. So let's look at the inner strength. I consider this particular pair, the Casper to Bitcoin pair, to be the inner strength to a like asset class, which would be a crypto asset class. But I need to compare it to an index. It's like comparing Microsoft to the S&P 500, right? Well, the Bitcoin to me is primarily an index. It is the leading force that makes the moves that, generally speaking, the altcoin market follows. But it does happen in two phases. Phase one, Bitcoin rallies hard. It takes some of the altcoin market with it. Why? Because it's part of this equation. But after Bitcoin kind of like levels off, then we start to see a lot of the altcoin strength to Bitcoin start to also take off as well. So phase one is benchmark Bitcoin. We've seen a nice rally in that. Second rally starting to come in on the underlying pairs. Make no mistake about it. Benchmark Bitcoin going up with the inner strength staying flat or slightly down still had a lot of altcoins going up because the Bitcoin went up dramatically. So let's move forward. If you want the mathematical description, it's right below on the bottom of the screen. It's 1 to 1. This here reflects Casper over US dollar. This here is Casper over Bitcoin. This here is Bitcoin over the dollar. So that's how you got to look at it. Let's move forward into the markets. So back to the markets. Now let's look at the inner strength. Looks like we do have resistance areas before we go over the Bitcoin pair. Let's go over to Casper US dollar. We do have a resistance up here at 4 cents, 4.1 cents. Support area down here around point is like 2.5 cents. So over to Casper Bitcoin, looks like we have a fairly reasonable area where we have dual support lines coming into play here. And as you can see, we're literally right almost at it. Generally speaking, where these two come together, you'll normally get an opposite magnetic push and have this thing levitate up. Where that goes to, likely around here at 2 or 204, whereas we're at 153. So we could very easily see a nice jump up over the next few days to 2, which would give it a 33% boost. Now, Bitcoin could stay where it is right now, and I think we'd see a nice rise of this to 33%, which would bring it up almost to where we were talking about over here. So, it makes sense in that regard, and we'll see what happens. But definitely looks like we might get a nice little bounce here. But, look, trade at your own risk. This is something you have to risk manage. I would not bet the farm on it. It's a fairly new crypto, so you got to be careful. It's not a whole lot of adoption. Yes, they are going to Davos, but you got to be careful with how much you're willing to risk on this particular pair. If it starts coming down below this area, then you want to reconsider your investment here. Let's go over to Bitcoin US dollar. It's 21,000. 21,000 looks like we could continue to climb to like 22.5 over the next week or so. But if it does pass that, we do have a really nice area of resistance up here. And if we can get up here, that would be great for uh, Casper as well. If you think about it, this is 28, 29 to 30,000. That's another big chunk of uptick for Bitcoin in terms of where it's at now. Another helpful push for Casper. So as you can see here, if this bad boy goes up, Casper should go up, assuming this thing stays flat. I have a feeling, though, we're going to wind up seeing the inner strength make the move before the benchmark does, just given the support areas here coalescing. But again, this is a very risky particular crypto, just given the maturity of it and in terms of the adoption of it at this point in the life cycle of this crypto. However, it does have innovative points, like we mentioned. It has the ability to help move Web 2 to Web 3 pretty quickly. And they do provide professional services to grease that along. And also the fact that they have these upgradable, customizable smart contracts on chain. you don't have to go and reinvent a whole new reboot of the system pretty much. So that's a key point as well, and that makes this a very compelling technology. I just don't know at this particular cycle if we're going to see it, uh, if we're going to see the benefit as of right now. But anyway, look, trade at your own risk. I would say this is iffy for me. I don't think I would necessarily go into it, but I think that if you are in it, it could moon here quite a bit. And by mooning, I don't mean 10x, but I think 30 to 35% up from where we're at on Casper to U.S. dollar. I think it's a possibility to get to 40 to 4 cents, about roughly 4 cents. After that, if we go further up, then we're looking at 4.8 cents, and above that, we could be looking at 5.7. But again, if you start to see this pair start going down, I would be very concerned. The only thing to help you at that point would be Bitcoin's move. I am bullish on Bitcoin, but how much of that move to the upside that Bitcoin will make to offset the downside of the Casper to Bitcoin pair, that's still to be determined. So trade at your own risk, and good luck, everyone.